Welcome to An Author Dissects a Narrative with your host, Husna Haze. In this captivating series, we will unravel the intricate tapestries of your favorite movies, TV shows, games, books, and beyond. Prepare to embark on a journey of analysis and exploration as we uncover the hidden gems and profound themes within these beloved narratives. Remember to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing for a regular dose of insightful content. Let's delve into the realms of storytelling together. Welcome back to the Deconstructed Universe. That's right, we're back, and we're back with Season 3, Episode 7 of House of the Dragon. And I have to say, after last week's slow episode, this episode really started off really well. And I don't know if I'm biased because it started off with my girl Helena Targaryen. But yeah, I go 10 fingers and 10 toes down for my girl Helena, okay? I ride for my girl Helena, okay? So anyway, it opens up with, obviously, Helena. And she's obviously dreaming because she's at the Red Keep and it's empty. She sees, a gray mare and, she's basically alone and she's happy. She's flarking, her hair is down, her blue dress is just complimenting her, and she's really giving, content. And then we see that she keeps hearing her name. It's echoing like Helena, Helena. And we see that the doors of the keep open up and she is bathed awash in golden light, and then she startles awake and finds Rhaenyra Targaryen standing over her like a creep. It's weird, okay? When you wake up and you find somebody standing over you, it is very much weird. And we see Rhaenyra is obviously there for ulterior motives, because before she knew Helena was a dreamer, she really wasn't checking for Helena. And in the books, Rhaenyra really doesn't like her siblings. But in the show, we've not really seen her interact with any of her siblings prior to this whole debacle of this war. So we see that basically she's just like, oh, Helena, basically when this war started, my advisors told me, okay, Lord Corlys, that, somebody would try to get you to fly into battle on Dreamfire. Did Daemon do that? And she's like, yeah, Daemon did do that, but when I'm with Dreamfire, everything just gets a little bit overwhelming and I don't like it. And then, basically Rhaenyra is like, yeah, well, our father, he was like that too. Some people prefer quiet lives. And then Helena's like, listen, our father really didn't want to be changed by the dragons. And Rhaenyra is just very much shocked, you think the dragons change us? And then she also says basically their father preferred a quiet life. And then Helena basically says you have many dragons, hasn't it changed you? And Rhaenyra is like, no, it hasn't changed me. And it's like, Rhaenyra girl, Helena gave Rhaenyra the look of, you expect me to believe that? You expect me to believe what you're saying, the words that are coming out of your mouth, when you barely believe them yourself? So anyway, it shifts. The conversation pivots to, hey girl, I think you're a dreamer. What have you seen? And Helena's very forthcoming. She's very much like, I saw Grey Mare last. And then here comes Rhaenyra with a barrage of questions. It's like, have you seen Tumbleton? Have you seen Ormond Hightower? Have you seen Daemon? Have you seen me succeed? And it's very much overwhelming for my girl Helena. And Rhaenyra is like, you might reject me as your sister, as in you might decide not to tell me as your sister, but as your queen, I compel you. And she grabs my girl Helena, who is very much neurodivergent. She's a neurodivergent princess who does not like to be touched. And Helena gives her this look let me go before I tell you something you do not want to hear. And that's where the scene ends, essentially with Rhaenyra not getting the answers she wanted out of Helena. But are we surprised that she couldn't get the answers that she wanted out of Helena? She tosses aside Helena's stitching because the stitching would have told her something. And it's like she forgot the conversation she had with Alicent earlier, where Alicent was like, it's like puzzles. Sometimes, she just... Basically, the dreams are not as straightforward as Rhaenyra wants them to be. Helena's not your personal oracle girl, okay? She's not your personal She's not your personal oracle, girl. She's not your personal stethos. What's it called? Those things. Those things. Oh, girl, I forgot. Anyway, it cuts to the next scene where we find Aemond at Harrenhal, and he's obviously like still injured, recovering, and he's basically, just swinging his sword around. And here comes Alicent pulling up to Harrenhal, and I was just very much like, ugh, here we go. Girl, tell me why it got weird. So anyway, Alicent pulls up, and she is all like, oh, I did all I could do. Aegon is like most likely dead. And Aemond is just very much giving like an aura that I don't know, maybe he didn't trust his mother, or like he's just like very apprehensive about this conversation, where it's going. And then it very much gets very Targaryen very fast, and I was just like, ugh. And then we realize it's Alyssa Rivers. Girl, it's Alyssa Rivers. Alicent was never there to begin with. Alyssa Rivers is on like... Oh my gosh. This was very, very much a weird scene. It had me. It had Aemond for a while. And then, like, obviously Aemond, like, leaves when he realizes it's Alyssa Rivers. And as he's walking through Harrenhal, that's when Alicent arrives. And I was just like, wow. This was actually a very good scene because it had me fooled that Alicent was there. That Aemond fooled that Alicent was there. And then, obviously, when he, like, realizes it's not Alicent and he, like, runs away, and he runs into Alicent, who's arrived at Harrenhal, things get really, really, really real fast. So yeah, I think that was like a good scene in terms of it had me fooled, but it was very much gross. And then we cut to Tumbleton, where obviously we get a sweeping view of the Tully army and the Northern army marching towards Tumbleton. Now, I don't know if Gwaine was in the midst of trying to go back home and he got caught up, or he was on patrol, but he races back to Tumbleton and basically tells Ormond, like, listen, like, the army's like a day's ride away, like, they're here. And Ormond is like, well, it doesn't matter, because I've got all the pieces on the board that will bring that Targaryen lady to her knees. Now, I can't say the words that he said because, like, I don't swear like that. And also because, I don't know, like, anyway, like, that's what he just said, okay? So I'm just paraphrasing. So yeah, obviously that was, like, very much, like, a good scene. Like, I just love the cinematography in this season. I just would like for people to just improve on the wigs. But apart from that, it's a very good, like, episode I can't speak. Cinematically? Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, put it in the comment section below if that's a word, but the cinematography was really good. So cinematography-wise, it was a really good, strong episode. There have been really strong episodes this season, cinematography. Anyway, and then we cut to the area where Daemon pulls up on Caraxes. He pulls up on Caraxes, girl. You guys, Daemon pulling up to the Vale was him just basically crashing out in front of Lady Arryn, because he's like, listen, like, why is Rhaena flying about? Like, she told me, like, she was gonna lay low, and she's just flying about, and she's exposing me, like. And then the Lady Arryn is like, listen, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I'm done with this matter. I'm gonna go tell Rhaenyra. And Daemon's like, give me a day. Can't you just put her in chains? And it's like, oh dear. Like, I can't stand Rhaena right now. But the way Rhaena's moving is because she didn't have her father's love, and she didn't have, I don't know, she's been ignored. I don't know, these Targaryens with their dragon complexes, if they don't have a dragon, they have a complex. If they have a dragon, they have a complex. It's a whole thing. They need therapy for this. But anyway, Daemon is very much just enraged. And it's like, dude, you're worried about optics instead of worrying about your daughter. But at this point in time, you should be worried about optics and your daughter, because your daughter is bad. Bad. And the Lady Arryn is like, listen, like, last time I heard she was near this place looking for Vhagar, okay? I'll give you a day. And Daemon says, please. Have you ever heard Daemon say please? Ever? Ever. He has never, ever said please. And I'm like, girl, he said please in this moment, girl. He said please. Anyway, and then we cut to Adam and Ellen. Oh, girl. Is it Adam or Ellen? It's Alan. Alan and Baela, and basically they're like walking about, and Alan is like, listen, can you get your father to like tell or to like get Queen Rhaenyra to like legitimize me in case like, you know, there's some highborn lady out there that I want to marry. And Baela's like, oh, so Adam told you that, you know, me and him are like a thing, like, you know, like an unofficial thing. Like he told you then. And Alan is very much just, you can see his face just go into shock. Shock and awe, girl. Shock and awe, because he is very much flabbergasted. His brother got to their niece first? What the heck? Like, he's very much just upset. Like, he's upset because he wanted to be with his niece. I'm just saying that is just so gross. I'm just tired of this Targaryen family tree circle thing, because it's circling and it's circling and it's circling and it's becoming a puddle. It's becoming a puddle real quick. Anyway, yeah, so they have that scene. And Baela finally recognizes that this is not the way he was going about this thing. He was talking about him and her, not her and his brother. And then they see Sheep Stealer Girl. They see Sheep Stealer in the distance and they say, let's hop on the dragon and pull up on this. Okay? Let's pull up on this. As in, they're about to jump Sheep Stealer Girl. Sheep Stealer pulled up in the wrong neighborhood and is about to get jumped. So instead of Alan and Baela jumping Sheep Stealer right then and there, they fly to King's Landing. And then we cut back to Harrenhal, where Aemond is very much disorientated. He doesn't know if this is really Alicent. So like he kind of like grabs her and like make sure like this is actually her, because you know Alyssa has been in his mind, you know, using his mommy issues to manipulate him. So obviously he finds out it's actually Alicent. And then she obviously starts spewing her lies about how she escaped and had enough money and blah 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 blah. Anyway, she comes up with some lies, okay? And then she takes him to meet, obviously, the guy who basically is supposed to have gotten her to Harrenhal safely. And Aemond is like, yeah, I owe you a lot, blah, blah, blah. And then he obviously kills this guy. I even forgot his name, like Sir something. He kills him. And I was like, you know, as paranoid as Aemond is, and as like not gun-ho, but as like knife orientated as he is of grabbing the knife and getting to work with his sword or his dagger, this was actually the best decision that he made. And he should in turn make all of that uneasiness that he has towards this person, he should direct that towards Alicent, okay? Because Alicent is here to actually, like, you know, actually harm him. Then back at Tumbleton, we have the conversation between Ormond and Lord Corlys, where Lord Corlys is basically like, why am I here? Like, what do you want from me exactly? And I can see, like, Lord Ormond wants to turn Corlys, but at the same time, Corlys is not going to flip, okay? Corlys has always been a loyalist to his own detriment. So we see that Daemon is like to Ormond, like, okay, but what is this going to do for us when the wolves and the fish are like knocking out our gates? And Ormond slides him a look, gives him a look like, you need to stop talking, like do not talk. Do you not see that we are in the midst of a conversation with an enemy? Like, you need to get it together and, you know, shut up, essentially. And we see that basically after this whole conversation, Corlys is like, just take me back to my cell. And Ormond takes his finger. Yeah, he takes his finger because he's going to use Corlys as a bargaining chip later on, which is really going to... It's going to, like, literally just make Rhaenyra's, like, life really hard, essentially. Then we see Daemon. Daemon basically goes back to his Uncle Gwyn and is like, listen, like, he won't tell me what he's got planned. He's got Corlys here, and, like, what's Corlys in our grasp gonna do for us with this army at our gates? And Gwyn is like, listen, like, I don't know what he's on about, but, like, you could, like, fly away. Like, we're done for here, essentially. And Daemon is like, listen, what kind of king deserts his man? And not only that, what kind of king deserts his man, but where would I even go? Like, this is all that I have, like, essentially, because without Ormond Hightower, without the Hightowers backing me, like, I'm essentially done. we could like give up. And Gwen is like, give up and do what? Go get hanged, essentially, because that's what's gonna happen. So we can obviously see like Daemon is very much just between a rock and a hard place. Like he doesn't know what's going on because Ormond is keeping all his cards close to the vest, and he should keep all his cards close to the vest because the way that the greens have leaked is insane. So we see that Gwen is very much... Gwen last time got to know what Ormond's actual plan was. But anyway, we see another high council meeting of Rhaenyra's, where it's obviously got Master of Coin, we've got Lady Sabitha Frey, we've got Adam of Hall, and then we've got, what is her name? Mysera, the Lady of Whispers. And basically, the Master of Coin is not happy. His daughter got jumped in the streets, okay? She got jumped, got wiped with excrement, and basically thrown at his doorstep. And he's like, listen, I've been trying to get people to raise taxes here. Everything that I say has not been dealt with. Like, I'm trying to come up with a solution, but everything that I'm doing is basically being ignored. And he's like, it's almost as if you guys put me in this situation to be a scapegoat. And Mysara takes a sip, because that is exactly what happened. Then we've got Adam, where he says, like, the Valyrian men are in the city, essentially. Like, I've raised enough men, they're here. I haven't heard from my father, as Rhaenyra wants to know, like, where is Lord Corlys? And then we see that also Rhaenyra is very much just done with whatever that's going on. Like, she doesn't want to see any more people giving her problems to her to solve, because she's just over that. She doesn't want any council meetings. She's concerned about Vhagar and Aemond. She's concerned about, you know, Tumbleton and Lord Ormond, and she's concerned about where is Daemon. He flew off. We don't know where he is. And then Lady Sabitha Frey brings up Harrenhal again. And essentially, Rhaenyra's like, you know what? Go, raise men, take Harrenhal, okay? At the end of the day, do what you want with Harrenhal. I don't need Harrenhal. At least if you're there, Aemond won't have anywhere to run and hide. And obviously we know that Alicent is over there at Harrenhal. So that's the essential gist of the situation when it comes to the council meetings that these people keep having that are kind of useless. Because at these council meetings, Rhaenyra is not addressing the prime issue, which is she has no money, essentially. And he's trying to fix it, but nobody's taking what he's trying to implement, like, seriously. They're ignoring it. And obviously, like, during the council meeting, Rhaenyra asks the Maester, like, has there been any word from Harrenhal? And he's like, no. And I think that was also a guiding factor in her telling Lady Sabitha Frey to go and just seize Harrenhal if she wants it so bad. And then we see that my girl Mysaria, she's not really my girl, I don't really like Mysaria. Mysaria is like, listen, you can't trust Daemon. Daemon is this, Daemon is that. You can't trust him. And Rhaenyra is like, listen, like, I don't know where he is, but he's never betrayed me before. Like, he's always... Daemon is many things, but he's not going to betray his blood, essentially me. He's not going to betray me. And Mysaria is very much just, like, upset, frustrated. And that whole situation, I just think, like, Mysaria is really working hard to sort of discode between Rhaenyra and Daemon. And I understand where Mysaria is coming from, but most of this is to do with Mysaria she's trying to secure her position within Rhaenyra's court and Rhaenyra's, like, feelings, if you get what I'm saying. And I'm just like, Mysaria, you're fighting a losing battle. Rhaenyra and Daemon they're obsessed with each other, okay? They are going to do whatever is right for them. They're very much moths are drawn to the same flame. Like, Mysaria, you're fighting a losing battle, okay? You might have Rhaenyra's ear right now, but essentially she will always... She's gonna I don't think this is gonna work out for you, girl. And then we cut to Aegon, who is on the road with Sir Tyland, and he's on the road with Clubfoot and the few men that Sir Tyland have, and they're making their way towards... where are they going towards, actually? So they're heading to Maidenpool, and Lord Tyland is like, listen, just get a ship and we go to Carsey Rock, and that's where we can raise an army. And Aegon is very much hell-bent on going to Braavos, and I'm like, why do you want to go to Braavos? What is there in Braavos? You're not even worried about your sister, girl? Your wife is captive in King's Landing. You're not worried about little Helena? Like, Aegon is just very much annoying. And obviously Laris is like, we need to, like, go. We need to go. They, like, basically there's an army coming. after Sir Tyrion Lannister because they're looking for him. Because obviously Rhaenyra wants to know about gold. Where is the gold? And then we go to Harrenhal where Aemond is having like this very awkward family dinner with Alyssa and his mother. And basically he's like, listen, I'm going to make this my seat and I'm going to just wait out the war, essentially. Isn't that what you wanted, Alicent? And Alicent's very much perplexed, like, who is this woman? And Aemond is like, listen, she's like a healer. She does a lot of things, but I'm going to be here with her and we're going to start like our own branch of Targaryen. Of the Targaryen family tree. Essentially, that's what he was saying. And Alicent is very much like, listen, Rhaenyra has 6 dragons to her name. Like, as much as you don't want her to be ruling, she's ruling. And we need to figure out what to do with Helaena. And Alyssa is like, just very much just, I don't know, she's giving off energies that basically says she doesn't trust Alicent. And it's like, Aemond, you should not trust Alicent either. And Aemond drops some gems in this conversation where he's like, listen, those 6 dragons that Rhaenyra has to her name, they're essentially nothing. She's given dragons to commoners and diluted and ruined our family. Could you imagine Jaehaerys and Aegon, the Conqueror Targaryen, would just be... Ooh, I just know they're like rolling over in their ashes right now because what Rhaenyra has done by giving commoners dragons, Aegon could never. Aegon could never. Jaehaerys, the Conciliator, could never. I mean, Jaehaerys, the Conciliator, threw his own daughter in a sept, okay? In the Silent Sisters because he was so done with her antics. Could you imagine what he would have done to Rhaenyra? First of all, bastards, okay? Trying to pass them off as Targaryens. And then now you give dragons to commoners? Ooh, Rhaenyra. I don't think you're made for the Iron Throne. I'm sorry, girl. You're not it. You're not it. At this point in time, I'm not for Team Green or Team Black. I'm just watching the hot mess that is the fight for the Iron Throne that is beneficial to no one. And I'm worried about my girl Helaena. So we see that Alyssa Rivers basically tells Daemon, like, listen, we need wood. And he goes to chop wood begrudgingly. And while he's chopping wood, she comes up and she's like, she's here to do you harm. And Aemon very much can't believe that. He's like, listen, like, my mother has secrets, they're ill-kept secrets, but she will never betray her family. And I'm like, Aemon, your mother is, your mother, literally your mother. Daemon should never meet his mother, and Alicent deserves whatever she gets. She is terrible. So we see that Alicent doubles back to the guy that Aemon killed, and while she is, searching his body for a weapon, she finds the flowers that in the prior episode, Helaena told Jaehaerys not to touch because they are dangerous. Okay, and I thought that, like, that scene was very weird to me, and I thought that, like, it would come... Obviously, like, it's come full circle here in this scene, so obviously we see what Alicent plans to do to Daemon. So we cut to Aegon on the road with Sir Tyrion Lannister and the men and Lord Larys Strong. And we see that Lord Motion has basically risen up and he's got an army and he's going village to village searching for Tyrion Lannister. And here goes the clubfoot saying, like, listen, why don't you, Tyrion Lannister, turn yourself in and you give me and Aegon a chance to escape? And Aegon is like, listen, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not running. I'm not doing this anymore, okay? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not playing ball. I'm going to face my fate head on. I'm going to die a king, essentially. That's what he said. And poor Lord Larys basically runs away. He's like, okay, like, I'm gonna dip, and not only am I gonna dip, I'm gonna take these men with me. And Lord Tyrion is like, you know what, I'm gonna stay with my king, because this is where at some point Aegon begins to show a slither of not honor but duty. He begins to show a slither of duty. He's going to stand his ground, no matter what happens, no matter what fate comes for him. Obviously, we saw, like, back at King's Landing, that Rhaenyra got word that Sheepstealer had a rider, and she called Adam and... it's not Adam, it's Alan. She called Alan and Baela to basically go hunt down this wayward dragon rider. And obviously, we see Daemon finally catches up with his daughter, Rhaena. And they have this whole confrontation where he's like, I should have done better for you. I've been lonely. Viserys has been lonely. And he tries to, like, get down on her level and he's like, I should have done better, girl. And then Reina has the audacity to be like, I thought I could do this, but I can't. I can't live like this in solitude. I just can't do it, okay? I don't like to do it. And Daemon is just very much like, ugh. Like, this is all Daemon's fault. If he had been a better father, none of this would have happened, okay? And then we see that the Alan, Bela, and Rhaenyra show up. And it gets very much chaotic, and the dragons get a fighting, girl. And somehow she managed to rope Daemon into hunting down Vega. But obviously Daemon has a vested interest in hunting Vega, because without Vega, the Greens have nothing, essentially. So he's like, okay, I'll play ball. And then at that exact moment, Rhaenyra, Bela, and Alan descend upon them, and chaos ensues. Okay, ain't none of these dragons listening to their dragon riders. Emotions are high, and they get a fighting. It was a very cool scene. It was very epic. Sheepstealer got jumped. Okay? Got jumped so bad. Dragons were injured. It was epic. Okay? Epic. And Daemon goes to assassinate Sheepstealer, girl. Daemon and Caraxes go to assassinate Sheepstealer. I mean, Caraxes bit into Sheepstealer's neck, okay? Severed that thing. Sheepstealer ran. We don't know if Sheepstealer's alive. But we see Rhaenyra's very much upset. And even in the midst of all this chaos, Rhaenyra even, got Adam to, fly away with Rhaenyra. So yeah, that's what happened. And then we cut back to King's Landing, where Mysaria is basically out here just saying, like, Rhaenyra's not taking any more audiences. So if anybody needs anything, just come to me and I'll try to listen to what they're saying, and I'll try to get something done for them. And the lady that she brings in, the brothel worker, she's like, listen, you're not one of them, okay? You're not one of them. I don't know if you wanted to bring me here to stunt on me, but you're in a precarious situation. You are not one of them. They're going to turn on you. Like, remember who you are and who they'll always view you to be. And Mysaria is very much upset. And I think she's upset because it's the truth. And she's like, this was a bad idea. We go back to Harrenhal, where Alicent obviously roofies Aemond and finally does what she intended to do. I can't believe she did that. But anyway, she does that. She keeps like surprising me about how much she does not care about these kids. So yeah, so she basically roofies Daemon and poisons him, and then we cut to basically Rhaenyra returning to King's Landing, and Daemon basically comes in and he's like, listen, like I couldn't bring Rhaena here. And Rhaenyra's like, what were you trying to protect her from? Like, you think I was gonna harm her? And basically they have this whole conversation. He's like, I didn't betray you. So now like they are fighting, essentially. The grown-ups are fighting. Anyway, this conversation with Daemon and Rhaenyra was very much, I don't care. They were like, for parents, Rhaenyra hasn't been a really good stepmother, girl, okay? Like, she is really neglecting her stepchildren, and I don't know why you guys love Rhaenyra and Daemon so much. I just think they're toxic. But apart from them being toxic, I just think that, I don't know, like, I just thought Daemon would have been a better father to his kids. He's not. He's more concerned about Rhaenyra. He's more concerned about his sons with Rhaenyra and the Iron Throne and power. Like, I just, and this is why I don't understand why a man coded as Daemon is coded would be alright with Rhaenyra's bastards taking precedence over his trueborn heirs. Do you know what I'm saying? Or why a guy who is very much into Targaryen supremacy and we're better than everybody, or we're like our blood is pure, blah 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 blah, would be alright with dragon seeds. Well, he'll be alright because it gives him power and more leverage, but I don't know why he'd be alright with like the idea of Targaryen supremacy being diluted in such a way. Then we see the reunion between Bela and Rhaena is just like, she's just there for her sister, which is expected. And then we see that basically Lord Ormond Hightower left he FedExed Lord Corlys's ring finger with his sigil and everything on it to Adam. To Adam. He FedExed it there. So Adam got the delivery that his father is essentially a prisoner right now. And then we see that basically Daemon makes it to, where does he make it? He makes it to Alice, who basically is just so upset. She's done. She like throws something down like on the table, and she's just like, oh, I told this guy not to trust Alicent, but he didn't even listen to me. And then we see my girl Helaena Targaryen having a dream where she gives birth and her child gets taken away from her. And then we see in the dream that she is on Dreamfire in the dragon pit, and she says Dracarys to the swarm of incoming people running towards her. And then we see that she's with her son and her daughter, and she's on a farm and she's raising her chickens. And then it starts snowing, which is obviously implying about the Night King. And I was just like, my girl Helaena, does that mean you're finally getting some level of I don't know, I just need you to be more assertive, some level of autonomy, like in the decisions you want to make, and just saving you and your children, because you can't rely on your mother, girl. You gotta rely on yourself. Like, I'm really rooting for my girl Helaena, girl. So I don't know what that dream sequence is gonna do for Helena's story arc and her story moving forward, but I'm very excited to see it, because I feel like if it's making her more assertive and more an active participant in what's happening in her story and her life, I'm all for it. Also, we see that Rhaenyra goes to Mysaria and is basically like, listen, Daemon didn't betray me. He didn't betray me and he didn't betray his daughter, but you've been trying to turn me against Daemon, essentially. I know what you're trying to do. And basically, they have a conversation, and then, basically Mysaria, I don't even know what's going on with these two, but that's where it is. And then Lord Morton's army finds Aegon and Lord Tywin Lannister, and I just have to say props to Tywin Lannister for sticking with Aegon, because this must have looked like, this must have been like, I'm going to die or I'm going to be kidnapped or whatever. Anyway, like, Aegon gives the speech, and as he's giving the speech, the army is just getting rustled. At first they're laughing, mocking him, and then as the speech goes on, like, the air shifts, and then obviously Sunfire comes in, and Aegon says Dracarys. But I have to say, like, best Dracarys I've heard so far is from my girl Helaena in her dream. That Dracarys was fire. So yeah, we see that basically Sunfire came to Aegon's rescue, and Aegon is back. He's back with Sunfire, and he's so happy. And then we cut to obviously this conversation that Ormond has with one of the dragon seeds, Alan. Not Alan. Girl, I've got to get it together with Adam and Ellen, and I've got to get together with Hugh and Ulf. So it's Ulf the White that he has a conversation with. And basically, he's been talking to, obviously, Ulf for a long time. They've been having a discussion. And obviously, he's like, I can't believe I heard word from the grapevine that you got jumped by Daemon in the streets. And Ulf is like, to be fair, I was told not to do something and I did it. At least he acknowledges where he went wrong. But then Ormond is like, listen, like, they shouldn't be laughing at you, and they're only seeing you as a tool to be used and discarded. Like, listen, like, you deserve better than that. You deserve to do what you want to do, your simple pleasures, and you deserve more than what they're giving you. And Ulf is like, last time we spoke, you told me you'd give me Honey Halt. And by the way, Honey Halt is right now without, is it without a lord? Well, we don't know yet. But anyway, without Ormond, Team Green would literally be screwed. As in, he's the only one making plays enough to make waves, okay? Everything has been set up so perfectly for Rhaenyra to take it all, okay? From the get-go, this show has always been coded towards Rhaenyra being wronged, towards Rhaenyra being the rightful queen, towards Rhaenyra and her faction being right, towards Rhaenyra can do no wrong. It's very much been mirrored by the fandom and some of the watchers. And Team Green has been mirrored to be just bumbling idiots or people who are unrighteously taking what belongs to Rhaenyra, who are not true Targaryens. It's been a whole mesh of things, but this show has very been coded towards Rhaenyra. You should be rooting for Rhaenyra. So anyway, we see that Ormond is basically the only one carrying Team Green. He basically tells Ulf, like, listen, like, Honey Halt is nothing. How do you feel about Lord of the Tides? Because I've got the Lord of the Tides in my dungeon right now, okay? I'm using him as a bargaining chip right now. You could be Ulf, Lord of the Tides. How does that sound? And Ulf loves that. Because Rhaenyra is not paying her dragon seeds. They're not getting paid. They're not getting paid in respect. They're not being acknowledged. They're being treated by by her and Daemon as fools, okay? All they had to do was give them a lordship. All they had to do was treat them right. All they had to do was pay their wages. All they had to do was give them some respect, and they couldn't even do that. So anyway, basically, and I feel like Ormond set this up very well, because essentially what he's done is, if Ulf wants to be Lord of the Tides, he can't really be on Team Rhaenyra or Team Black, because Corlys is a staunch supporter of Team Black, as in whatever happens, he will never be Lord of the Tides if it's up to Rhaenyra. So he set up a conflict where if Ulf wants to be Lord, he's gonna have to betray Rhaenyra despite of his grievances. And I feel like that was a masterful stroke, because the only way he will get Lord of the Tides, a title that is very much high up there, is if he stands with Ormond. And then we'll see next episode. So yeah, I give this episode a B. It's back to B because it was very good. The cinematography, the storylines, the arcs, it's not slow. It was a very good episode. So yeah, catch you in the next one. Welcome to the end of the video, and thank you very much for making it to the end. Make sure you check out Vertigo Honor Bound by Blood, the first installment in the Vertigo book series. It is set in 2095 at the heart of the Imperial Champion regime, where Emperor Gregory Champion rules over Earth and the colonies stretching out across the solar system, where there is a virus called the Omega virus that has mutated and changed the political landscape of Earth. This is a story about factions, about coming of age, about the importance of being firm in what you believe in a world where bloodlines matter. What faction are you?